What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here. Today, to talk about buying and selling in this new wonderful market that we find ourselves in, where everything's going to zero. And as Rudy likes to say, the money machines are no longer going burr. I've talked about this in various different live streams, and also I think I've touched on it on the last couple Sunday videos. But I feel like it was kind of worth gathering the thoughts and kind of throwing it into its own thing. So that's what we're going to talk about today. First off, I'm being extremely picky in the current world state. Let's be honest. None of us know what the hell's going to happen next. The stock market's red. Crypto's red. Most collectibles are in the red. Some things are doing okay. But generally speaking, from a macro level, everything's going to zero. I'm being very choosy. I have also shifted a lot of my attention back into comic books. I began to reevaluate that marketplace and some things that I'm missing, and putting together a list of blue chip keys that I may want to go out and acquire. Now, part of the reason I'm doing that is because I view comics as a lot safer than sports cards. And to kind of go a step deeper on that, part of that is the differences on how I treat the two markets. Sports cards, I focus mostly on modern to ultra modern, current active players. I'm not a big vintage sports card guy. It just doesn't get me going. I understand for a lot of people it does. For me, it doesn't. Comic books, I completely stay away from anything modern and ultra modern. I go back and buy copper, bronze, and silver age keys. Stuff that I always wanted when I was a kid, or stuff that I read as a kid or first discovered as a child. That's the stuff that really draws to me. So I'm going back and reevaluating my list of buy targets. At the beginning of the year, I made a list of I think it was top 5 or top 10 sports cards and comic books that I want to purchase this upcoming year in 2022. And I'm going back and revisiting that list and seeing if I should shift things around or not, because some things that I didn't think I would potentially be able to afford are now sliding down to a price point where I could potentially get into them. I'm going to shift this back to sports cards really quick. A good example of that would be Juan Soto First Bowman Chrome Auto. I'd like to have one of those. I do view that more as a long-term hold, though there's some flip potential there depending on when you buy in, obviously. But his prices started the year out sky high. He had a very hot end of season. It carried over into the off season, and now he's just starting to cool off price wise. He's playing well, but the Nationals suck. They're kind of tanking, so it's a whole weird situation with his numbers and his whole deal. But his prices are slowly starting to come down on stuff. His rainbow foil under $1,000 now. His pink refractor, I have 2 of them. Those are down to $1,100 or $1,200 now. I haven't seen his first Bowman slowly coming down, but very slowly. It's not something I'm running to buy out today or tomorrow. But I could see if things keep trending the way that they're trending, that there could be an opportunity to get into that card in the next few months. So that's more on my radar now than what it previously was. Now, that was one from my list, but I feel like it's all of a sudden become much more viable than it previously did. That may be a card that I'm going to the National looking for example, because I think maybe by that point it could trend even lower unless something crazy happens and he gets traded. I don't see that happening. Or he would get ridiculously hot. I don't know that I see that happening just given the team circumstances, but anything can happen. I digress a little bit there. But that's just an example. On the comic book side, there is some ultra blue chip keys that I didn't think would necessarily be in my budget that are slowly, and that market moves even slower than sports cards, especially the stuff I'm looking at, because it's much more, the best way to consider it if you're not crossing the streams with me on both sides is the way I view comic books is the way most people view vintage sports cards. The stuff that people like about vintage sports cards are what I like about the comic books that I look at. So that market tends to move a lot slower. And while it is trending down, it's not trending down as fast as ultra-modern comics and ultra-modern sports cards. So it's a little bit of a slower thing. But that gives me an area of opportunity to kind of sit back and evaluate of, let me look at what I wanted to get, and is there some opportunities here of things that are, coming off a hype phase like, ASM 50, first appearance of Kingpin, got juiced because of Hawkeye. That book's starting to come back down now. So maybe there's an area of opportunity there. Some more expensive things, like I saw Swaggle House did a video today where he got a Journey into Mystery 85. That's first appearance of Loki. To me, that's a mega key. I would like to have that at some point in time. On the extreme end, maybe a low grade X-Men 1. I thought for the longest time that would be relatively unattainable for me. But if that creeps down in a low grade, like a 1.5, a 2, maybe even a 3, that's come down quite a bit for me to get into a 3. Or just don't let my wife watch that mail day video. I'll be in all sorts of trouble. But things like that, if things go real sideways, maybe something like that becomes affordable. So I'm being very picky with cash right now. I'll do trades all day long, but when cash becomes involved, it needs to be something that I really, really want. Like at the Hartville show last weekend, I traded a Vlad and a little bit of cash for this Herbert Blue Velocity. I talked about it briefly in a video. It hasn't gotten a full breakdown on its own. But Herbert, throwing a little bit of cash in, getting out of the Vlad. I have lots of Vlad. I have no Herbert. I think I tossed in $100 on this. Stuff like that, I'm okay doing. I'm more talking about going out and buying, a $2,000 card or a $1,000 comic book or whatever. Now, I did just actually purchase a comic book yesterday. I'm recording this on Thursday, so it should be here early next week, maybe this weekend if I'm lucky. But that was one I had been watching for a while. It was an early X-Men book. No spoilers. Well, you'll see it when the mail day comes. And it was been posted by one of the more popular Instagram sellers, not Elite, not Instagram, one of the other ones. And they've been posting it for a few weeks now at an $800 price point. This was a CGC 6.5 early X-Men book. And it's one that like I said, I've always wanted it. And they've been posting it for almost a month now. And I circled in and I said, hey, would you take $700 for it? Now, $700 is not a lowball offer. $700 is a very good price on that. I think the last one sold for $700 dead on, but all the previous sales were quite a bit higher than that, around that $800 to $850 mark. So I feel pretty good about getting it there. It's, in my opinion, it's not an ultra blue chip key, but to me it's a blue chip X-Men key, and it's a very, very early X-Men book. So $700 for that, I felt that was a good play, and it's something that I've always wanted anyway. So it's not like I'm just buying it for the flip. I'm buying it because I'd like to have it on display behind me, and I also do think it has good long-term potential as well. That's kind of where my headspace is at with buying right now. I'm just being very picky, and I am reevaluating everything when it comes to want lists, and I'm looking more at long-term holds than I am quick flips, just because of the general uncertainty in the market. I have plenty of inventory that I can move in and out of. Not a crazy amount, but I have stuff that I can move in and out of to sell, to buy, or to use as potential trade bait. And another little part of me is trying to, keep money aside if a really good deal comes down. The fun money pile's built back up again a little bit. I've sold some stuff. I want to be able to, if a good deal falls into my lap, have the cash sitting there ready to go, but also a buffer. I don't want to blow the whole load on one thing. I want to be very selective and kind of portion it out. On the flip side of that, the selling side of it, I am reevaluating my entire inventory, and I am looking at areas of opportunity of items that I think I should be selling because I think they're going to continue to go down. I don't know that I have anything like that. I'm sure that I do, if I'm being quite honest with myself and looking at my cards. But I'm going to take a hard look at what's in my case, what's on my spreadsheet or my Market Movers inventory tracker, and look at my price points that I paid, where it's currently sitting at, and what do I think the short-term to mid-term life is for that card or player, and what do I think their prices are going to do from here. And that might mean I'm probably going to take a loss on some stuff, but if I'm into something for $2,000 and I sell it for $1,000, but I think it's going to go to $500, why wouldn't I sell it now for $1,000, and then if I really want the card back again, buy it back again later for $500? A good example of this, I did a video about a year ago on the Lucas Select Premier. I bought that card for like $1,500. I bit the bullet and sold it for $500. Took about $1,000 loss on that card, and people lost their mind in the comments. Not everybody, but a decent amount of people were like, "What are you doing? Why'd you sell that? Ride it." And now that's like a $250 to $275 card. Did I lose $1,000? Yeah, but I could have lost another couple hundred instead of just exiting it out of it when I did. I think that's tough for people to do, myself included. People don't like to take losses. But sometimes taking a loss is 100% the right play. And you got to really have that, like, let me sit down and look in the mirror moment with yourself and say, yeah, either I made a mistake when I bought it, I either paid too much for it, or, maybe something has happened to kind of shift the dynamics, whether that's maybe the player got hurt, maybe they got eliminated way sooner or drastically underperformed, maybe they got traded, or in this case, maybe it's a combination of that plus just the general market across the board and everything completely tanking. So I think it's a good opportunity to sit back, evaluate the cards that you currently have, and go through each individual card and say, is there a good chance that this is something that I could buy back later at a lesser price over the next maybe 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, whatever your time horizon is for that stuff. And I'm not sitting here saying fire sell everything, it's all going to zero, because I have no freaking idea. I could be completely wrong. I could sell a card and then maybe something happens and it shoots up, and I'm like, you idiot, you took $1,000 loss on the card, and now when you go to buy it back, it's going to be more expensive. That's probably going to happen on at least some of the stuff that I move. And I may not end up moving anything. Like I said, I need to sit down and evaluate it, but that's what my approach is to it. So this is not me telling you to run out and sell every card that you own, but it's me saying what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do, is sit down and evaluate my case and say, here's a couple things that I think are going to continue to drop. I'm going to look to move out of these, free up some cash to maybe pounce on things that slip through the cracks or become better deals or get something that I didn't think I was previously going to be able to afford. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Curious where you guys and girls are all at with this. Obviously, none of us know what the overall macro markets are going to do, whether that's stocks, crypto, just the general world, period, full stop nonsense that's going on out there. None of us really know what's going to happen. Things could get way worse. Things might get a little bit worse. Maybe things get better right away. None of us know. And anyone that says that they do is an idiot, because they don't. They're just guessing, just like I am, just like we all are. All we can do is look at the information we have at hand, make our best shot. Sometimes it's going to work out. Sometimes it's not. So that's all I have for you guys and girls today. Smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't, notification bells, I guess, and we'll catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.